To start out with, the reason why we use Equipment Manager in programs on computers period is because they're a lot more accurate. With using the automatic identification or the barcodes, we increase the error rate from entering manually from 1 in every 300 characters to 1 in 3 million using barcodes. Also, it's a lot easier to back up the information when it's on a computer. You can go and verify the date and time of issuance, and also being able to access information from multiple places all at once. So this is why we use the Equipment Manager program in computers in general. Usually we go ahead and put a desktop icon up, and that is where you can go ahead and start the program. It pops up to this screen right here, which is the player screen. As you can see, we have 3 major types of equipment: the serialized, the non-expendable, and the expendable. So first, we're going to talk about going through and adding a player. So we go over here, click Add, and it brings up this screen for the personal information of a new player. Here, the only items that we need are the last name, first name, ID, the sex, and the sport. So I'm going to put myself in here. The ID, we suggest using the school ID as long as it's not a social security number. If it is, you can go ahead and make one up. In this case, I'm going to make up a number because I'm not sure exactly what the numbers are in this exact database. To change sexes, you go ahead and click down, click the one you need. Same idea with sport. If you have the basic program, which is only helmets and shoulder pads, you will not have this option to drop down. So we go ahead and choose. Everything else is completely optional here. Also, while we're here, if you wish, you can go ahead and go in and put in their sizes. These are handy for being able to figure out how many of what item you need, and also ordering, issuing, those kind of things. So you'll see that more as we move on. The equipment tab over here is where you're going to be checking items in and out to. So we'll come back to this screen. Once again, the only thing you actually need to start a player or staff member are these 5 fields here. To edit a player, as you can see at the bottom here I am. All you do is you can get your cursor to the left side of them and double click. You can triple click on any of the fields that they're in, or you can single click, go up to edit. All these bring you to the exact same spot, which is right here. There's also another way using the scanner, which I'll go through a little later on. You can always go in and change any of the information as you wish. There's nothing that is permanently locked on the player's information. Also for football, while we're looking at the sizes here, the helmet manufacturer, model, and size, along with the shoulder pad manufacturer, model, and size, are automatically entered once you check the helmet or the shoulder pad out to the player. Now let's talk a little bit about the serialized items. Serialized are items that you want to know exactly what that specific item has had done to it, who it's been checked out to. You want to know everything about that exact item. So serialized items have unique IDs. Examples of that are helmets, shoulder pads, possibly jerseys, whatever you wish to keep track of that item. To take a look at some of the different items here, for helmet wise, we have a label that we can go ahead and put on the helmets. What we suggest is to go ahead and put it over, not on top of, but right above where the date stamp is on the helmet. As you can see here, it's on the left side of the helmet. We took off the jaw pad and go and put it right up here. If we go to the next picture, you can see just laying it down, it needs to be on a nice, clean, smooth surface that's also dry. If for any reason your reconditioner uses something like a sandblaster or something like that that leaves the surface not smooth, you can go ahead and take just a little scrubby or something, knock that down, wipe it clean with alcohol, let it dry, and then put these on. This is the label all the way down. We also put a clear coat over top of it. This will go ahead and protect it not only from the weather and sweat and items like that some more, but also it gives you something to be able to just wipe off once it gets overspray from the reconditioning process. You just lay it on top, making sure that you have coverage all the way around it. And then that's it. You put the jaw pad back on. For some of the helmets, you can go ahead and put up above, just pull back at the side bladder here. Another spot in a lot of the new helmets is you can put in the very top. This is a little bit hard to get up there, but it makes it very easy for checking in, checking out, and also more unlikely of getting overspray. So now, if we go ahead and look at the shoulder pads here, the best place to go ahead and put it is by pulling up the pad and put it on the back, right in between the pad and the plastic. Once again, you just make sure it's nice, clean, dry, smooth surface. Lay it down, press it down nice and smooth. Take your over laminate and place it right on top, fully covering it. The place that you don't want to put is on the back. We went ahead and printed out one of these labels and put it on the back just to show people of where not to put it. When back 13 years ago or so, we thought this might be a great place because no one's supposed to get hit in the back, and it makes it nice and easy to scan. What we found is that no matter how much they're not supposed to hit there, they still get totally banged up. So let me go ahead and take a moment. Is there any questions anyone has here? All right, no questions about the installation of labels. So to enter a serialized item, you go ahead and click on the category. In this particular case, we just have helmets in. Click Add Item. You scan the particular item here. You always want to scan, that way it's making sure it's the right one. If you try to enter it manually, there's a better chance of messing it up. So here I'm just going to make up the number 1. And to fill in these grayed out areas, what we do is go over here and click down to whatever the item is. So let's say it's large, but instead of crimson, we have a black helmet also. So in order to add a category up here, you always go one up. So if I want to put in a new color, I go up to the size, add category, and it asks for the new color. Put in black, and now I can go ahead and click on that and assign category to item at left. Now I can go ahead and put in the cost. Let's say it's $300. If you wish, in this particular case, as an optional field, they put in face masks. You don't have to put anything in, but you could. Let's go with an EGOP just because the year made. This will come into factor when you start trying to see if it needs to be reconditioned and or if it needs to be scrapped. And then it already has today's stats date. So if you wish to go ahead and enter another one, all you do is hit OK, add another. It keeps everything just the way it was. You put in the number, scan the number here, and make sure the year is correct. Let's say it's 2008, and OK, add another. If you hit OK, add another with the serial number being blank, like I just did because I double-clicked it, you can see that it just lets you know that you need to have all this information in. So in order to get out of this now, I can either cancel or I can put in another one and hit OK. Both will take you straight to the screen. To edit an item, let's go ahead and go to the top here. We just, once again, either double click here to the left. You can go ahead and triple click anywhere in that row. You can just be over here under Find ID and scan it, or type it in, or click on it once and click Edit. As you see here, it will go and bring everything up, and you can go ahead and choose to do a repair if you wish. In this case, I'm going to say replaced hardware. If you want to be very specific, you can say what you replaced. If you wanted to not even put when you do any kind of a maintenance on it or repair, you don't have to. That's just an option. If you have an item that you are done with and you need to archive it, you can go ahead and click here and click archive. It asks you if you want to archive this item. If you say yes, it will automatically get tossed over to the other side here, which is under archived. So with that, we can see here it's now archived. If we need to know the history about something, we can do a display history and see exactly when it was put in, when it was repaired, when it was archived. Also, this by column is using the capability of the login feature into our program. That's more covered under the advanced training, but if you do use that, then you will have your initials there and you will be required to log into our program, not only your computer. I've had a question of what do you do when the reconditioners somehow take off your serial label. Now with this, what you can do, if you can figure out exactly which one it is, you can go ahead and call us up. There's multiple ways we can treat this. One is we can go ahead and try to print out another label of that for you. Another thing that can be done is that if you wish, you can go ahead and when you archive it, you can make a note under here. Label came off, replaced with number 2 or whatever. Whatever kind of comment that makes sense to you. So let's say this is the case. So in this particular case, I'd go back to the active. I'd go to my other helmet here, and I could put replaced number 1. Continue history there, or whatever makes sense once again. Because now if there's any question, you could go ahead and go in and display the history. Oh, okay, I need to go to 1 now. That kind of thing. So that's the one way to work it. The other way is to go ahead and call us up and we'll see if we can go ahead and make another label for you. If you want to go ahead and print this report, all you do is hit print. Let's see. Let's minimize these a little bit here. The reason why I'm minimizing them is because I got a message saying that it was too big for the screen or to be printed. So Now, if we go ahead and take a look here, it's printed just as you see it. And you can go ahead and play around with how wide you want different columns and so on and so forth. But this way you can see, have a report of exactly what you see. Refresh grid, sometimes this is handy if you're having multiple people work entering the same thing. It just does a quick refresh. Display history, I've already showed you. Once again, it's just showing up exactly what has happened to that particular item. Your received items will come into play under the advanced. This is where you can go ahead and actually serialize your helmets and shoulder pads and whatever other serialized items you have into the system. Lastly is reconditioning info. This tells you exactly what year it's been made, if it's checked out to someone, what the actual description is along with ID, when it was last reconditioned, what I need to do with it, and how many seasons used versus seasons since reconditioning. If you want to start looking forward, you can go ahead and type in a new date and recalculate. As you can see, there's a bunch that are going to be scrapped in this particular case, and also the ones that need to be reconditioned, so on and so forth. The spot that you go ahead and set up the reconditioning is under the configure. Under configure, we have the database, which is where most of the stuff you do ends up. So you have your sports, the categories for the equipment, the fields for those particular categories, and the tables. In order for something to show up, you need it in every single one of those. So as you can see here, we're on the serialized table, the helmets, and these are the fields that they decide to have checked. So the first year they don't recondition, then 2 through 5 they do, and then rest of them no. So if you wanted, you could go ahead and put scrapped even if you wished. The reason why this particular organization had it as no is most likely that they give the helmets away to the seniors, and it's a 4 or 5 year program. So, but this is, of course, to whatever you wish. If you want to do every other year for 10 years, you can. If you want to have it for 2 or 3, you can do that also. All right, before I go on any further here, is there any questions about any of these serialized or the players so far? All right. So to add more serialized items, we go and make sure we're on the serialized table. Go over here to add items. Now, even though it says add item, remember this is a category, not an individual item. So here we're going to type in jerseys. Actually, let's do home jerseys. And you can see that it's red. The reason why is we need at least one item from each category here, or each column, for it to be good. So we have, it's the serialized table in football. The category is home jerseys, and as soon as we choose the first field, it turns blue. This means that it will be saved once we click save. If it's red, it disappears. So here we can go ahead and choose whatever we wish and click save. Now at the bottom here you can see that it's in here. We can add items just like we did before. Let's start with 11 just as a number I'm throwing out there. Here, because we don't have any categories down here yet, we click on the top one, which is home jersey, add, let's say, Nike model lineman. If you wish, you could put style as lineman instead, whatever you particularly want. Size, extra large, who knows, it might be 36, 38, whatever in your particular case. We just go down, click on the very bottom, assign category to item at left. As you can see, that just filled those in, and toss in the cost of $100, let's say. Now, if you decide you want to go ahead and put the color in also, we can go back to configure once again, click on the home jerseys, and then add the color field. Once we click save, if we click on home jerseys, we can see there it is. So we can go on in, click on the one right above, add category, black, click on that, and now assign that ticket item at left. It's going to ask us if we want to replace this particular one with this. That is correct. We're just adding the black in there, and OK. Now it's fully updated. If we want to go ahead and add expendable, non-expendable goods, all we do, same idea, except we choose the expendable or non-expendable tables. If we want to go ahead and let's make a non-expendable of practice pants, let's say. So we can go ahead and save this. If we go to the non-expendable here, we can see that there's the practice pants. So what we can go ahead and do is, let's say that we wanted it to actually be an expendable item, not a non-expendable. For expendable and non-expendable, we have this button over here saying change to, and it lists the opposite. So if we click this, now we can go to the expendable side and find there's the practice pants. If we need to rename it, all you do is make sure it's selected, click rename selected item, and type in whatever you wish. We can press save. Once again, we're on non-expendable and it disappeared. Go over to expendable and we can find practice pants right here. If you decide you just don't want to keep track of that item or something happens, you don't have them anymore, we can go ahead and click on it. Just take off the fields. As you can see, that makes this red. That means that it's going to disappear once we click OK or save. Same idea with sports. If you want to get rid of a sport, you just go through and deselect every single field for every category in that sport, and it will turn red. Any questions on the adding expendable, non-expendable, serialized items or categories for them, setting them up? All right. Moving on here. Back to configure item or configure. We have database paths for all except for the network version. This will be usually pointed at your C program files equipment manager folder. In this particular case, I have the network version, which is I can go ahead and point to wherever I wish. So if you have network and you want to change different sports or whatever the case may be, you can go ahead and go through and choose that particular sport and press save. And this will go ahead and switch you to your new sport or your new database. Also, you can have it set up with sports up here, which is once again where these sports come in. So in this particular case, they have a database pretty much for just football, but they have spots for the different people here. So multiple ways of separating things out. If you have any questions about which you should do, if you're just starting out, give me a ring and we'll figure it out. Also under configure, we have bartender. This is the third-party software for printing the paper and cloth labels or the heat press labels that you can go ahead and put on all your cloth goods. This will be set up when we go ahead and set up everything on your computer. If for some reason it's not working, give us a ring. We'll make sure everything gets up and working right. Size options allows you to go ahead and put in more sizes than what we normally have for you. So when I'm talking about size options, what I'm going to do is go back to the players here, go into the player profile, click on sizes. So right here, the end one that we have is jackets and shoes. That's the normal set. They added the Audi body, the crown pad, so on and so forth. If you wish to go ahead and add these items, that's great. It is under the configure size options tab here. If you decide that you want more than one locker combo, let's say, because you have a issue box and a locker, they can go ahead and you can put in here the issue box combo or whatever you wish it to be named, and click OK, then save. Now as we go in, under personal information, you have their locker and combo, and you can go ahead and go over to sizes and see that over here, there's the issue box combo. So it all depends on what you want in there. It can be everything and anything, essentially. The only thing is that you can't duplicate the exact wording of something that's already here. The football sizes, it's just for football. Once we go to another sport, active sport up here, so let's go to managers, go in, look at their sizes. The football has disappeared. Rest this is universal throughout all the sports in this particular database. Also on configure, we have the serial input. This allows us to go ahead and use items such as a Bluetooth scanner if you want the wireless scanner capabilities. Also use it for the MegStripe readers. Here's where your team name comes in. You can put in your organization and your mascot. Whatever that may be. This will go ahead and show up on your labels and also your reports that you print out. Group checkout just quickly allows you to go ahead and make a group of items that you get checked out to multiple people. This will be covered more in the advanced also. Program options allows you to go ahead and put in a picture that will be displayed in the top left part of your reports. In this particular case, let me go ahead and find my go and print save. And now if we do a report quickly, we can go ahead and see that it is in fact in the top left part. Here you can see the person and also your organization and mascot. Back to configure to try to finish it up. If you choose to use reorder point, you can go ahead and click on this box. It will pop up a message that allows you to know that you are running low, you need to reorder. It is very irritating, and you can come back and click on it anytime to disable if you wish. Users, this is where you go ahead and log in and change who the users are and also what rights they have. This is covered in the advanced training. The handheld tab allows you to go ahead and upload all the players and equipment to the handheld device. If you go ahead and scan items, you can go ahead and dock it, wait for it to sync, and then import all the transactions here also. And checkout conditions allows you to go ahead and go in here, choose what you want it to say right in the screen. And a lot of times players will be required to sign this before taking anything out of the equipment room. This way you can make it so they know for sure, yes, this is the policy, you are responsible for it. If you don't return it, we charge you, whatever the case may be in this particular situation. If you want this printed out, you make sure it's checked up here and then tell it what printer to go to. Once you make changes, always hit save. Is there any questions about the configure screens at all? All right. Moving on here. We have the let's go ahead and go through the rest of the players. I've shown you how to add them and edit them. If you want to archive a player, you go ahead and click Archive Player. If you want to archive them, click Yes, and they'll disappear from your current list, the active roster. At the bottom here, you see the players in the archive active. Go ahead and click there. It lets you know you are viewing the archive, and here's this player. If you want to know the history of the player, you just double click here or edit them, and you can see, you can display the history right here. Expendable, not expendable, both, or serialized. In this particular case, since they're managers, they only have expendable items out. Doesn't mean it has to be that way though. If you want to go ahead and do more of a hands-free or keyboard-free and mouse-free checkout, you will want to go ahead and print out the command bar board. This is found on the equipment screen here, where you do your check-in, check-out. What this has is information, the barcodes for checking in, checkout, lost, plus minus, scrapped, plus minus, and in checkout. This becomes very handy, so you can just be using the scanner. You can go ahead and on the regular player screen, when the reports are the full data, which includes the personal information, the sizes, and the equipment. We can go ahead and take a look at that. So the personal information, the player sizes, and then all the information for when they get checked out. As long as you have a cost affiliated with the item under the serialized expendable or non-expendable, it will go ahead and add up. It'll tell you how much each is and then a total. So this can be used a lot of times for giving to players, giving to admin, whoever, saying this is your bill or this is how much stuff they used throughout the year per person. If you want to just print what's being displayed on the screen here, you click the second one and hit print. This will go ahead and show you exactly as you see it on the screen. Third report is list of all equipment and players checked out. Here, let me go ahead and go back to football so it gives you a little better idea of what this looks like. This is what I consider keeping the Northwest economy going, because they definitely can be a big paper hog. As you can see on the right hand side here, it has page 1 of 10 and hardly anything is checked out to anyone. So, but where it is, it tells you exactly what the description is, how many, or the actual item ID and how many. And you can go ahead and just click back and forth to look at the different pages. once you have everyone with a bunch of stuff checked out, it does get really large really quick. And lastly, we have the print barcode bar boards of all players. This will go ahead and allow you to use the scanner to scan each individual just by their barcode. This makes it so you don't have to grab the mouse, hit copy and paste or double click or whatever the case may be. You can just scan their item or their ID here and it'll go straight to the checkout field. For all of the reports now, you can either print them and they'll go ahead and bring up a regular print screen asking you where you want to print, or you can go ahead and export and choose to export it to HTML or text. This will go ahead and give you an electronic version that you can go ahead and email to someone. One example of this might be if your guy is going to the NFL, let's say. We can go ahead and go to the reports here, go up to print full data, but all we want is his sizes. We go ahead and press print. His information comes up here with everything that he wore, and you can go ahead and export this if you wish to either HTML or text, whichever way you want, and save it and then just email it off to them. Is there any questions about any of the reports here? All right. To configure the display, we go ahead and click Configure Display. This allows us to add in different items that we might want. So let's say we want the jersey number because we want to make a roster, essentially. Just last name, first name, and jersey number. If we want it by the number, all we do is click on the top in the category and it sorts everything. As you can see here, they put in 02. That way it's in the correct order. If we would just make someone 1 here, we will see that it doesn't put them in order. It puts them down here in front of the 1s. So in this particular case, the databases, the way they work is that they look at the very first item or first number letter, goes with that, and then goes to secondary numbers. So it's not quite the way we think of it. It's the way that databases deal with it. So if you do that, just go in, go back to the personal information or sizes, and make it so they're all the same. If you have 100 players or more, you will want to go 001 instead of just 01. Same idea happens on shoes for your expendables or anything like that. If we want to go ahead and take a look at t-shirts, let's say. This I find very handy personally. If I want to go ahead and issue out shirts for everyone the first time, all I do is I click on t-shirts here, which sorts them out Once again, it sorts not how we think of sizes necessarily, but by alphabetical. So the large comes before the medium. But this way they lump them all together. You can easily print this out just by going over to the reports, print information being displayed in grid, and as you can see here, it prints up with exactly as you saw it on screen. This way you can go through and just label them up all at once and toss them out there. If you don't want something on there that is, all you just do is come back to configure display, uncheck it, click OK, and now it's gone. If you want to display things by last name, first name, whatever the category is, just click on the top. This is always how things will print out. So if you want to print out the bar boards, let's say, and you usually deal with everyone by their number, you might want to go ahead and sort by number first and make sure that everyone has a number, of course. If you think of them by last name and that's how you're going to be looking for it, do last name, so on and so forth. Refresh grid allows you once again just to refresh the grid to make sure that you are current if there's any differences in the database from what others have done. Sizes allows you to go ahead and take care of, see how many of what you have for all the guys. So we went ahead and put all those sizes in before. Now we can go ahead and go to, let's say, t-shirt size and find out exactly how many of each we have. So in this case, there's 5 players that don't have the sizes. Those are the 5 right there. But the rest of them, we know exactly what their sizes are. If you want to see the players, you just hit maximize there with plus. So this comes into handy when you're ordering, when you're thinking about next year, when you're just trying to figure out what you have on stock versus what you can possibly hand out, whatever the case may be. And once you're done with this, you can just close it up. If we go ahead, I'm just going to copy an ID here to show you how the checkout happens. We go into player. Once again, this is the same screen. If you double click, if you click and edit, if you scan the barcode, whatever the case may be. Then you scan the item, and if you do a copy and paste, afterwards you need to hit enter. Oh, as you can see, we can't check out items to archived players. So what that tells me is that I am still on the viewing archives. So go back to active. We can go into player here. Once again, just scan the item or copy and paste. It comes up right here. You see it's body at the very bottom. Then we click checkout. You can see it's checked out 1 out now. If you want to undo that, you can do check in. Same idea with lost. Lost you can't, lost and scrapped, you can't scrap more than what you already have checked out. So if we already had one checked out, we could go ahead and scrap it or lost. And once you're done, you make sure this is right. The E stands for expendable. If it's an N, it's not expendable, and you click OK. Same idea with a serialized item. The reason why I'm copy and pasting right now is just because I do not have this database and all these items here. So I'm just grabbing items, and once you scan it, it does the exact opposite of what it currently was. So if it was not checked out to this person, it goes to out now. If it was checked out to this person, like the 2363E here, it shows up in now, and in this particular case, it's time to be reconditioned. So we can make note of that, put in a separate stack, whatever your procedure is for that. And all you do is click OK. Last thing I want to show here is that, as you can see, it just says helmets or Audi body. If you click on the item itself, you can see at the bottom here, it gives you the full description, how many are on hand, and the reorder point. Same idea if you click on the serialized items, it'll still give you the full description of it. Any questions for checking items in and out to players? All right. Moving on then. If you are staff, this is where you go ahead and put your staff in versus players. It doesn't really matter. It's just that we don't have a way to move from one to the other side. So if you want to go, if you can't find someone and you think that they might be a different sport or something, you always can click all sports and then sort however you wish and find that exact person. If you want to just go back to the active sport, which is shown up in the far right, you can go ahead and do that by clicking current sport and see exactly who you're looking for. Purchase orders is going to be covered along with the group checkout in the other training session, the advanced training session. Configure we've gone through. Whose is it? This is the reason why this program originally was put in here or was made. A lot of times you find stuff out in the field or somewhere else that in the locker room that you have no clue whose it is. This only works for the serialized items because they have a unique ID attached to them. So in this particular case, I can go ahead and scan it, and it tells me it's a football helmet, the serial number, and who it's checked out to. If it's not checked out to anyone, it's going to go ahead and show up as available. If you need to go ahead and send stuff to reconditioning, under serialized, you go and scan the helmet or shoulder pad, whatever it may be. Over here, you say out and just click OK. Out to reconditioning. So as you can see, the status here changed to recondition. If we go ahead and go in, it automatically goes to in, and you click OK, and it tells you, yes, it's still checked out to this particular person. Let's say you want to go ahead and mark something as sold or given to someone. Unfortunately, I don't have the absolute newest version on here right this second. We have sold, given to, and archived now, I believe, for 3 different buttons here. So all you do is you mark which one you want for sold and given to. You click OK, and it tells you or asks you to put in the person's name. So you can go ahead and put Paul Doe, let's say. Now you can see that that particular one disappeared. If we go to the archive side, we can go ahead and look down and find that particular helmet. It was archived on 5/19/09 was the last date we did anything. In this particular case, marked it sold and who to. And you can change the amount here if you needed to by just going in and editing and changing the cost. So if it's given, you might want to go ahead and say 0. If it's sold, you might put the amount that's in there, whatever the case may be. If you want a description part, instead of just saying Paul Doe, you could go ahead and say Paul Doe was charged due to not returning helmet, or whatever the case may be, whatever you want. We've gone through printing. All right. So with expendable and non-expendable goods, we've talked about adding and editing. We can go ahead and delete the items. If you do this, though, I suggest you make sure that you are fully zeroed out and go ahead and back up your database before doing this, just in case if there's any questions. Report-wise, we have everything being displayed in gray here, just as you've seen before. And also, you can go ahead and print out command bar board, or the barcode bar boards for this. And you can choose 1 column or 2, print it out, and it comes up just as so. So it tells you exactly what the item is and the barcode for it. This allows you to go ahead and scan it instead of the item if the item no longer has the barcode on it. A lot of times this happens with stuff that has cellophane wrappers and the barcodes on those. You take it out of cellophane, it no longer is that with it. Another time that this works nicely is with the shoes that you give out, toss the box away, and then they decide, I need a new shoe. So it gives you an option to be able to scan it yet. You can do this for all the different categories you have. Doesn't matter which. Let's see. For reports, we just went over summary. If you want to look at an exact item, you can tell how many you started with, how many you've added during the year, how many you have on hand, out, lost, scrapped. If it has multiple years, you can go ahead and click down here on all years. This way you can track exactly how it's gone through. In this particular case, we only brought 5 in, handed out 2, and we still have 3 on the shelf. You can tell it's not that popular of an item, therefore you might not order it. If you want all items in that category, you can do selected year only, or you can do all years once again and take a look at how many you started with and so on and so forth. In this particular case, you can tell that since you started with actual numbers in these top ones, they're most likely in the second year right now. Therefore, they're going to be gone for next year. Every item that has, or every ID, the UPC on them, we'll go ahead and change it according to any change in the product. So if it changes the color, the size, the style, whatever it may be, if there's any change, the UPC will be different. That makes it nice to be able to track that exact set of items. Reorder points, if you use reorder point, it'll go ahead and let you know exactly what you have out there that you need to be reordering. In this particular case, have it on hand. Let's see. Shrink this up a little bit so you can go ahead and see a little bit better. Yeah. And every once in a while we run into runtime errors. So if that is the case, go ahead and give us a ring. We'll take a look at it and try to figure out what's happening and get it fixed. So as you can see here, we have the actual items, the size, how many are on hand, and how many, where our reorder point is. If you want to look at all sports for expendables, you hit all sports. You can print this, so on and so forth. Same idea with the non-expendables. If we have items that we decide that need to be moved to another category because we accidentally put it in, or we're just doing all the entry into one and then moving stuff, you click the Move Selected Items, click on whichever ones you want. In this particular case, you can do multiple, so you hold down the Control key as it says here. I'm just going to go ahead and move this entire set. And then you click on the new category. So I'm going to click on Dry Mid-Turf, let's say, and click Move. Now if I go to the Dry Mid-Turf, you can see there's all those items that I just moved. So if you enter it into the wrong category here, don't worry about it. It can be moved around. All right, I believe that pretty much does it for today's training. If there's any questions now, feel free.